Hi guys, I'm Justin with Factor 55.
And I'm Bob Wohlers with OffRoad Safety Academy.
And we're here to go over winch accessories.
If you don't have accessories, your winch is not going to function the way you need it to for recovery situations.
And we want to review some of the details and some of the things to look for in quality winch accessories and the things that you should maybe carry and the things that you absolutely should carry. To start off, Bob, let's start off with one of the most important and most valuable tools that can be in your accessories.
Gloves. Gloves are very important when you're doing any kind of recovery situation. You need these to protect your hands. I don't know about the listeners. I'm sure they love their hands as much as we do.
Yes.
So you got to have gloves. I always just put my gloves right in my pocket and just carry them as I'm doing any kind of recovery, particularly winching.
And most recovery kits will come with some type of glove, but I think it's always best to also take look for a high quality pair. Something that maybe have some good leather palms.
Kevlar.
Exactly, right? Yeah, so I think it's also to be mindful about which types of gloves to also be used. Because you never know the situation you're gonna get in where you're gonna deal with a lot of winches that have synthetic rope, but you're going to still deal with many winches that have steel cable.
Steel cable.
And you want to make sure you avoid any kind of barbs or any little things in the cable line.
Yep.
And these types of gloves and a nice quality pair will help.
This is all about safe winching, so we needed to talk about gloves first. Let's go on.
One of the next things we want to talk to you about is the connection accessories for winching. The most common that everybody's familiar with is a screw pin anchor shackle, commonly referred to as a D-ring, which is not the appropriate term. Or a clevis, right?
Which they're not wholly wrong, but it's not the right term.
And there are many different types of shackles that are out there.
Many shapes.
Many shapes. You'll see some that are for slings specifically, some that are even made of different materials. But the key point is that what you're looking for is what we use is a screw pin anchor shackle. Now what that is a pin that can be unthreaded and threaded back into itself. So when using these, they can be used on a bumper, on a recovery bumper. They can be used to get your straps and contain all of your rigging tackle. They come in many different sizes. Right. They're the common size for Jeeps, truck, SUV is going to be the 3/4 size. What that is
3/4 inches across on the pin.
On the pin. So
this is a 7/8.
That's a 7/8.
So this would be more for power wagons, for half-ton, 3/4 ton, full-ton trucks that are heavy.
And then even for UTVs and side-by-sides, you can even see smaller shackles like 5/8 or 1/2 inch. Now, some of the key things to keep in mind when you're looking for a screw pin anchor shackle is going to be that it'll have some type of stamping on the back that will let you know where the product was made. We only prefer using USA made shackles and equipment because they are actually tested and rated for overhead lifting.
And they're forged, not molded.
Not molded.
Like the cheap Chinese $5 shackles that you know nothing about.
Absolutely. You want to see all proper shackles will have their WLL. And Bob, what is that?
Working load limit. So the 3/4 inch pin, screw pin anchor shackle has a working load limit of 4 3/4 tons. So that's 9,500 pounds.
9,500 pounds. But the key thing with USA made shackles is that working load limit is 5 times safety factor.
Right.
Which means that this product would see a minimum braking strength of upwards around 55,000 pounds.
Right.
So you know that you can use this in any type of rigging situation and be within the safe working load limits and the minimum braking strength for whatever you're going to be using them for. And then those only move up from there. So even like a 7/8 one has a working load limit
of 6.5 tons.
Which is?
Well, times 2,000. So that's how you come to that number, which is 13,000 pounds for a working load limit, for pounds.
So that's a key thing to always pay attention to, what you're looking for when it comes to your rigging. Most shackles, most common cheap shackles, imported shackles you see, won't have any of that information on the front. So you want to make sure that you're looking for a quality rigging
like Crosby, like Van Beest,
like Columbus McKinnon, or even Skookum. So you want to make sure that those are key things to keep in mind. One of the other features that we love about USA made shackles is you'll see here in the bottom that there is a 45-degree hash mark. Yeah, there are indicators on the bottom of the line, thank you, Bob, that will allow you to have degrees of freedom of movement. One of the things about rigging components is that you want to make sure that no matter where you're at, because we're going to be on uneven terrain, you never know exactly the angle of the pull that's going to happen. So if you stay within those parameters, you know that you're going to get the full
100%
100% of the working load limit of that. And each shackle, if you get past that 45, can still be used, but you have to derate its working load limit and its minimum braking
strength. So if you pull 90 degrees off the shackle, it's less of a working load limit
Absolutely.
For safety.
So moving on from this, from steel shackles, now what's starting to become more common in your winch, tackle, and rigging is the soft shackle. And the soft shackle, there are a lot of different versions that are out there. They come in many different diameters, a lot of different colors. There's all kinds of things that you can see with this. But again, one of the key points is you want to find something that's got their minimum braking strengths and their working load limits clearly marked on them. So and we're going to show you a couple examples, some different types here. This would be your typical standard duty soft shackle, which is made out of the same fibers that synthetic winch line is made out of. And Bob, can you tell us a little bit about those fibers?
So high molecular polypropylene is what it's really made out of. It has no stretch. So just like the metal shackle, which doesn't stretch when you pull on it, those won't stretch either. Very minimal stretch, almost too small to even measure. So very minimal stretch. And we don't want stretch in any of our winching setup rigging. We don't want any stretch at all. That's the objective.
And one of the biggest advantages switching to a soft shackle is mostly the weight, right?
I can take 20 of these to one of these. So it's nice to have a little of both. The death of metal shackles is greatly exaggerated. You still need metal screw pin anchor shackles for certain types of rigging setups for winching and other recoveries.
And as we get into detail, you'll see.
We'll show you.
Yeah, we'll show you how you can get the advantages and disadvantages of both types.
Right.
One of the biggest disadvantages of a soft shackle is that it does not deal, like with synthetic winch line, it does not deal with abrasion very well. So that's why you'll see other types like the extreme duty soft shackle that has this outer woven sheath on the outside of it. So what that's going to prevent is water, mud, dirt, grit,
terrain,
and getting in between of the rope fibers.
And the abrasion over terrain.
And there's abrasion resistance that's built into that product. Once we show you how these are going to be used in rigging scenarios, you also see how that can also become an advantage to even getting breaking your rigging loose, because even once the recovery is finished, you want to be able to disassemble your rigging tackle.
So a little more money, a little less money because of the protective coatings that are on this particular type of shackle.
And that really just kind of depends on when you're looking for, and also different braking strengths.
Yeah.
So so sometimes what you're going to see is that you also have a higher braking strength, and so it really is going to depend on the size of your vehicle, the type of terrain that you're wheeling in, and
your budget.
And your budget, right?
Maybe you can only afford the less expensive type of shackle, but this will last you longer for obvious reasons because of the coating.
And then you also see even some that are even a lot bigger, and there are some advantages to this where you can get them around narrow spaces in an off-road vehicle. Again, higher braking strengths, and it's just more versatile. So again, when we get into more detailed
rigging, we'll show you how to use
exactly
these types.
How they're done. So moving on from just connection tools, one of the key connection tools is also our winch line shackle mounts. Winch line shackle mounts are basically going to replace the conventional winch hook that
get rid of this.
That what's going to come on the end of your winch line. So one of the advantages of a winch line shackle mount is that it will work with steel cable or synthetic rope. It interfaces with screw pin anchor shackles or
with
soft shackles. So what this does is eliminates any of the risk of hooks being side loaded and becomes to be a much safer connection when using your vehicle and your winch tackle off-road.
And we call this closed system winching because everything is closed, it's connected. There's no opportunity for any of this to come off when we start making the resistance pull, like a particular hook. And a hook is designed for vertical lifting. It comes from the hoisting industry. So what we do in winching is we do horizontal winching, pulling, and sometimes that connection point can reach up to the tip and break the tip off. So that's why we like closed system winching. We're not repurposing a hook that is made for hoisting for winching. We're using something that was designed for winching.
From there, one of the other connection points that we have are straps. So having a good quality strap is a key in any rigging scenario. They come in many different shapes and sizes, thicknesses, and some of the key points to keep in mind, just like the working load limits and the minimum braking strengths that are built into the screw pin anchor shackles or in any quality piece of kit, is that you will find all of the proper labeling in here. You'll find with straps that you need, they should give you the 3 different configurations, which would be your straight pull, it will be your basket,
where you're connecting down here with the anchor shackle,
where you're connecting the two, or with a choke, and that's where you run the strap eye through here and then choke that down onto a roll cage or a tree or any other type of connection point. But the key thing is that a quality strap is going to give you all of those different configurations. They each have a different working load limit. Each configuration has a different minimum braking strength, and so it's key to know what those numbers are, so you can stay within those parameters when using quality kit off-road.
And a quality manufacturer will share with you on the label, they will tell you what material this strap is made out of. So all of the connection point straps that we use in winching are made out of polyester. Polyester is a very low stretch, almost no stretch material, as opposed to nylon. Nylon is something that we use that allows for stretch in kinetic energy recovery. And we'll talk about that some other time in another lesson. But for winching, we only like polyester. It's ideal because we don't want to pull out the stretch out of a nylon strap or rope in order to get the vehicle moving when we winch. We want it to be static.
Yeah, you want very low energy storage.
Right,
because you want those that rigging to be
And these
static.
straps come in all different sizes. So if I were going to put this around a large tree like a sequoia, like a redwood, if I was in the redwoods, I would need a very large strap to go around that tree. This is just a short strap to allow for different types of connection configurations. But we need a tree strap to go around the tree, made of polyester with the right working load limit based on our vehicle.
And so when you have a strap similar to this, where it's 30 feet long, it can be used for flat static towing. The other advantage is it can also be used as a winch line extension. So you don't need to have the fear that you don't have a winch line extension, because you can have one that's built right in to a static strap. But again, like Bob mentioned, it has to be this high dense polyester, very low energy storage, versus something that's nylon that's going to be have a lot more stretch in it.
Correct.
So moving from there,
another connection point.
Another connection point is using a winch line extension.
So here's the deal on winch line extensions. Murphy's Law says that your amount of winch line that you have on your winch is going to be 2 or 3 feet shorter to get to your anchor point.
Yes,
so
sir.
It's very important to defeat Murphy's Law and have in your accessory winch kit to have a winch line extension, so you can defeat Murphy's Law and get your winch to that anchor point.
And this winch line extension is just as simple as that is. All this is a piece of winch rope that's within, anywhere from as small as 10 feet, 20 feet, as all the way up to, how long is this one, Bob?
This one's about 75 feet.
About 75 feet. That gives you all of that extra distance to get to that point that you need to wherever the stuck vehicle's at. So it's key to have a variety of that of those rigging
and
accessories.
when we do rigging setups, and one of the other lessons, when we start rigging up the winch line, we'll show you how to use effectively and safely a winch line extension. One more connection point.
Oh, we'll talk about, so these right here is a hitch receiver shackle mount. There are many different types available on the market. You simply slide this into the hitch receiver of your vehicle, and you can...
It makes your hitch a frame-mounted recovery point in the rear of your vehicle.
And you can use these if you have high-quality versions. There are some that are out there that are made of steel. There are a lot of different types, but if you have a good high-quality one that has a radiused end, then you can use those not only with a 3/4 screw pin shackle or screw pin shackles in general, but also with synthetic and soft shackles. You want to make sure, again, because the soft shackles, just like your winch line, they don't deal with abrasion very well. So you want to make sure that you have all these different choices and just a variety that's in there. And that's based on your needs, your vehicle, the terrain you're going to consistently wheel in, and how you're going to use your vehicle off-road.
And you size these hitch shackle mounts according to the size of your hitch itself. So this is a 2-inch hitch for a class 3 tow receiver.
And that's common for like my Jeep and
Toyotas,
and Land
Tacomas.
Cruisers.
But for bigger trucks that have a class 5 hitch in the back, you're going to need the 2.5 or 3-inch hitch shackle mount.
So there's a lot of different varieties there, but the key thing is that this is a great tool, whether you're going to use it with your own personal vehicle or whether you're going to slide it into the receiver of a vehicle that you may come across off-road. So another really key connection point and piece of kit. From there, we want to talk about some of the safety items that can go with the connection points. With a winch line extension, and just also with your winch line, one of the options is to use a sleeve. Now, some sleeves are built into the line. This is a Cordura sleeve that come on a lot of, it's pretty common that you'll find some type of Cordura sleeve on the winch line.
And they're movable. They move on the winch line.
They can slide down the line, yes, that's correct. So what that is there for is so you can slide that over top of, if your winch line is coming over top of a rock or harsh terrain, then the winch line will pass simply through that instead of grinding itself onto the rock or the terrain that you're around.
Right.
And in certain situations, you're going to need something that's a little more aggressive.
And this just folds over. It's got Velcro and it wraps around the line. The line would go in through this hole here. And the line would actually, when you start winching, will slide through this if this is over the top of a rock. Let's say it's over the top of a rock right here. So your line will slide right through it rather than rubbing the rather soft and delicate synthetic rope winch line. This will protect the winch line because you don't want to fray this over.
So there are two different
terrain.
options there to like look for, and again, based on your needs and the terrain.
Right.
Another key piece of safety equipment when it comes to your connections is a winch line damper.
Yep.
And it's not a dampener, which a lot of people get that wrong. It is a damper. And so these is an effective tool to work as a weight on the end of the winch line, and then it will also work as an air brake. So if you have some type of failure, it will also catch that air and help to drop the winch line to the ground. They're very simple to use. They simply open, right? They've got a little
winch
pocket.
Line closes up around the top here. The winch line, he closes it down, it hangs on the winch line, gives a little bit of weight. So if something were to break in your winch rigging setup, this will just take the line to ground and not flail around or snap back or do whatever. This is a safety item, a winch line damper. I like to call it a recovery damper because I also use it for kinetic energy recovery, which is another lesson that we'll get into.
That we will touch on later. So winch line dampers, another key piece of kit that we want to talk about too, that you can find in a lot of recovery bags, is going to be your pulley block, or also commonly known in off-road as
a snatch block, because it opens up and snatches the line in between and captures the line. So it snatches the line.
And so these can be used for many different things. for getting extra strength out of your winch pull, and also to redirect the winch line. Sometimes in some rigging scenarios, again, which we will cover, you may not be able to get your winch line directly to the vehicle that you need. And so you may need to redirect where that line is going to take, especially in narrow valleys, the forest a lot, right? So a pulley block, a snatch block is another really key piece that's in there. Again, you should always look for one that's got working load limits and ratings.
Appropriate to your vehicle.
Appropriate to your vehicle.
I like to go with 2 or 3 of these whenever I go recreational off-roading, because I like to be able to have more than I actually need. So I don't think 3 of these in a winch line kit would be too many. I like 2 or 3.
You want to think about when you're using this as well, that even though a lot of this stuff seems, as you're collecting your kit and putting it together, you know, you invest in properly rated and tested equipment, and what will inevitably happen is it's going to save you that towing bill off-road, and if you don't have any of it, and it's also going to last you
a long time.
A long time.
Buy the best winching accessories that you can afford.
Because it's not just for you and your vehicle, but also the safety of everyone else around you.
Exactly.
Some advanced rigging components that are in here is also, this is a load distribution plate. So for more advanced rigging techniques, you can basically come here, and if you have multiple poles and multiple anchor points, this is for a lot of the advanced guys. Bob is really familiar with this part. It's really used in a lot of really complex rigging. So some of the advanced lesson stuff will cover more of these technical things.
Right. One last piece of equipment that we didn't cover, I think is important, is some transport chain, because I like to put transport chain around an anchor, around a rock anchor. So a certain length, maybe 15 feet to 20 feet, even 10 feet would be acceptable. You do need some kind of chain to go around a rock. So I think this is part of your basic winching kit, is about 15 feet of steel transport chain. So I would highly encourage you to buy the right chain for your size vehicle.
Lastly, what we have also is for those that are using synthetic winch line, you will still come across a lot of people that are using steel cable, and that is actually okay. If you take in the safety considerations,
if you know the limitations, and the safety considerations,
then there's still many people that are using that. But for those that are using synthetic winch line, there's also a fast fid. This product actually is used to splice synthetic winch line. And so this is another tool. If you're going to use synthetic rope,
it can break.
It can break, and when it does break, you want to have a tool that you can be able to fix it.
Field fix.
To field repair it. And we'll show you how that's done in a future, live in a future lesson. So that's a great overview of all of some basic winching accessories and things that you can think about to include into your kit. And again, depending on your complexity of the terrain and the level that you're going to be going off-road,
and the size vehicle,
is going to dictate which parts that you would like to buy or purchase or to keep in your recovery bag.
Can I talk about the most important accessory?
Absolutely.
I mean, these are all important. Your winch is only as good as all of this accessory, but here's the most important accessory right here: your brain. Knowing how to safely and effectively and efficiently use all of these accessories. And that's why I partnered with Factor 55 to put together this basic winching booklet. So this will give you the knowledge. In the back, it also gives a lot of different types of rigging setups, all the illustrations for the different rigging setups. And we'll be going through these after we're through with all this accessory lesson. We're gonna actually walk through some of these rigging setups with you and show you how they're actually rigged in a real scenario. So this is your most important accessory right here. Not to get out of your car at Mach 2 with your hair on fire and just start hooking up stuff. You need to stop, you need to think, you need to observe, why am I stuck, why is the other person stuck, and then you need to plan, and then after you've done stop, think, observe, and plan, then you act. And guess where everybody starts with on the trail when they're stuck?
Let me guess.
They start with act. So we want to stop, think, observe, plan, and then act. So this booklet teaches you how to do that in a proper procedure. So this is a pretty important accessory.